Welcome back to Fast Freddy RC, and today we're going to do step 1 of the Opel Calibra V6 on the TA02 chassis. Now, for those of you who haven't built this kit before, let's go down to this piece right here, and it says A 1 to 9. Now, what does that mean? Well, in your big parts bag that has everything in it, you're going to find parts bag A. So inside of parts bag A, you're going to find all of the parts you need for steps 1 to 9. Now, for some of the pieces, such as this gear, you're going to find them in the big box, or in the big bag. You can see them here, and there's some other pieces. So sometimes you've got to go to the big bag of parts versus your bag A. But for the most part, all of the actual screws and hardware that's required is going to come out of bag A. So let's take a closer look here, because I've pulled together some of these things. Now, I know that there are a few people who have never bought a Tamiya kit before. So just to give you an idea, when Tamiya puts out these diagrams for some of the parts that are required for their steps, if you put the part directly onto the piece of paper, it's usually a perfect fit. Same with all of these, and you can see the rings and the washers, etc. They all will fit. Now, I didn't do it for this because there's the ball bearings and they're a bit finicky, and if you look at this bag, you've got these tiny ball bearings as well. So I haven't pulled them out, but essentially you can put the washer, nut, whatever it is on top of these pictures, and if it's a perfect fit, you know you've got the right hardware. So let's go back. I have pulled out everything we need, and you can see that there's one of the rear gearbox joints, and again, you can put that on top of that. You know you've got the right one. It's a perfect fit. So what we're going to do is, you can see that we have to do this side first, because we're going to flip this over so that that is on the bottom, so that we can then work our way up and then lock everything together with that screw. So I'm going to reset the camera, and we're going to take a lot of the parts that we've already pulled out and start building from this side and work our way up. And just note, there's different greases, but this is the ball diff grease that comes in bag A. That's the one that you want for this, because we're building the ball differential. So I'll just get everything set up and we will start the assembly. So let's get started. We're going to start on this piece right here, which is this, which is their pressure plate A. So it's the bigger one. And we're going to put that there. Then it says to take one of the rings, which I actually have over here, and it's showing you an image of this grease. And it means, and you can see that the ring is dark, it means that you need to grease up this ring with the ball diff grease. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to grease it up. And what I find as a whole is you can be pretty liberal with this stuff. I think you should be. You don't want anything drying out. I'd rather have too much than not enough. So I'm just putting on a bunch. And same thing with the other side. And then we're going to sit that on top of there. So that part is done. Then you move on to the gear. Now here is the gear. Now what you're going to have to notice is, you see where it's showing you the balls, you have to grease them up and then they go into the gear. Well, you'll notice on one side of the gear it's bigger. So this one here, you can see there's not only the holes, but there's almost like little sort of manufactured markings. That's the wrong side. You need it this way up, where you can see there's a ridge, and the hole is actually wider on this than the other side. So that then is going to sit like that. So now we've got it on top. Then we're going to have to grease up all of the little ball bearings, which are these ones, which is the bigger ball bearings. or balls, and the bigger steel balls. You've just got to be very careful that you don't lose them at this point, because they're going to roll around like crazy. So what I normally would do is just take this one at a time, and I'm going to basically goop it and then put a ball down into the hole. There we go. So you can see just like that. So we're going to keep doing that, putting as much grease on, just basically putting it into the grease and then putting the ball into the other hole. And again, I don't want to lose anything. And now that my hands are a bit greasy too, that's going to help. There's the second one. And this will take some time because it's pretty finicky and you've got to be careful not to lose anything. The fact that the grease is sticky is helping. Another one. And we're just going to keep doing this, so I might just speed this up a little bit on the footage because you get the idea. You just got to keep going around and doing this. Okay, so there we go. There are all 8 steel balls into the gear. Now, you'll notice we need to do the same thing and get the other thrust washer and put that on top of that. And again, we're going to grease this up. Both sides. And then that is going to sit on top of that. Just like that. So you're just sitting it on top of those ball bearings. Then we have this plate, MA16, which is pressure plate B. Okay, so it looks like that. We're going to sit that on top of there. And then it shows putting the drive shaft joint in just like, just want to make sure that's level. Yep. Just like that. So you can see it's not in, but it's in. So it's just going to look like that for now. So essentially, once you've put those together, this is what it should look like. And then we move on to the next step where we're going to turn this over and start building from the bottom up. And you can see we've got to put in more of the little ball bearings as well, or the steel balls, as we go up. Now this side's going to be a bit more complicated because the washers themselves, you're going to need to make sure that you don't get them or put them in the wrong way. So I'll just get this a bit more organized, and we're going to build from the bottom up from where we are at this point. So you have the hex wrench, which we will put in there, but I'm not going to do it right now because first we need to build this up. So first things first, you'll see these MA24s. Now you're going to notice there's a difference. I don't know if you can see it here, but they are shaped differently. They're almost like one is got a concave, one is convex. So you're going to need to make sure that when you're putting this in, the bottom one is facing out, and then you grab the other M24 and face it the other way so that the top half is out. Right? And you're going to be able to feel that. So just make sure that that's going in correct way. So then it's kind of like two cups together. Then it shows you greasing MA21, which is this thrush washer. So we'll grease this up. Put that on top of there. That's going to go down there. Then you will notice that there is G4. Now G4 comes out of the big bag, and you're going to cut that off of this parts tree. It was sitting right here. So you've got G4, and all of those other tiny little balls now have to go into this disc. So we're going to have to grease that up, and you can see the images showing you grease on that washer we just did, grease on G4, grease on the steel balls, and then the MA20 is the other thrust washer. That one is going to have grease as well. So we've already greased this one. We now need to put G4 in with the balls and grease them up. So to make things easier, I'm going to grease this up. And that way there's something for the balls to sit and hold into. And in fact, I'm going to just, let's just sit it, I will just sit it there for now. So let's grab our little balls, and you can see that this bag, it's a small bag, and so you're going to want to make sure and be careful you don't lose anything. So again, let's just be as careful as we can be. I'm going to take just one. I want most of them to stay in the bag because I don't want this to be a problem. So because we put grease on that thing, the G4 plastic piece, the balls should stay in. And I'm going to do that all the way along for now, just so that we know that they're in. And I'm being very careful not to have the bag facing down. I do not want them all coming at me at once. Another ball. Now, you might have a different way of putting these in, and that's fine. This is the way I prefer to do it, because I'm making sure that the balls aren't going anywhere other than into the plate. And they're sticking in that plate, which is great. Grab another little ball. And I mean, they are so small and finicky. And it seems like in each bag they give you a couple of extra balls. I don't know if it's because they expect you to lose some, but there were 2 big steel ball extras, and there's actually 2 other extras in there as well. Okay, now let's grab that ball. I'm going to use the hex wrench to move it because it has fallen out. There we go. So you can see that that's now got to go into here. And you can see there it is inside. Put that down. We're now going to grab the other MA20, which is this one right here. We're going to grease that up. Put that one down on there. Then again, we have the same situation with MA23. These are washers again, where this, the top part is going to be up so that it's curved that way. we put that one on. Then you grab the other one. It's now going to be down, so the curvature is shaped up. So it's kind of like the two were butting heads. So we're going to put that on top of there. Then we do it again where it's kind of like coming together like a hamburger bun. So that's now got to sit on top again. And then they want you to take this pin and grease it. Okay. And then that is going to sit over top of everything. You can see it's now sitting. If I pull this up, you can see how it's sitting on top of there. And then it's going to go down. But it looks like what we have to do first is screw that into the other side. And this, of course, is why they want you using the hex wrench, because you're going to need to use that to hold it while you're screwing this in. So don't over tighten it, but that's tight to me. And then that, now, you can see, is sitting over top. And that is that. So based on this step, that is your completed ball differential. Actually, before we end this step, I do want to show you something. If you actually hold on to that metal and spin, you can feel the ball differential working, and it's really nice and smooth. It's quite a different feel to a geared differential. So the fact that I can do this and I can feel the movement of everything inside, we know that it's been built properly. So that's great. So we can now move on to step 2, which is putting in that differential into the rear gearbox.